Madam Chair. Good evening. I'm sorry, good afternoon, Reverends. It is morning, isn't it? And good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me back. Note that I was on time, a half hour on time. Anybody ever look up in the sky, look at the clouds, and try and pick out different things in the clouds? That's called scrying. It's also called peeping or seeing. And it is the practice of looking into a translucent ball or other material with the belief that things can be seen, such as spiritual visions, and less often for the purposes of divination or fortune telling. The most common media used are reflective, translucent, or luminescent substances, such as crystals, stones, glass, mirrors, water, fire, or smoke. From Hermetic.com, a short course in scrying, Benjamin Rowe writes, "Scrying is as much a learned skill as is reading or ice skating. Persistent practice is necessary to teach the nervous system how to do it, even when the person has some innate talent. And as with other learned skills, there is a learning curve. First, there will be a long period when you don't seem to be making any significant progress. Then, suddenly, things fall together and your practice improves markedly. This happens in a short period of time before leveling off again. When you level off, that will be your highest level of skill." When I read tea leaves, I am scrying. In the beginning, I didn't know that. That goes back maybe 12 years ago. I just didn't understand the terminology. And it wasn't until I asked someone who was way far ahead on their journey to teach me how to scry. This person's shoulders sagged, and he said, "Bev, that's what you do with the tea leaves." It surprised me, and I went, "Oh, really? I didn't know that." He then produced a feather and said, "Try scrying this." Well, first came the panic. I looked at the feather and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do?" And then as I settled and focused, I did it. I was reading him. I must have got too close because he took the feather away and walked away. There are many ways by which one can scry. If you drop wax from a burning candle into water, you can scry from the shape formed. It is believed that Nostradamus predicted the future by looking into a bowl of water. Well, not too long ago, I couldn't let that rest. So I went out and bought a stainless steel bowl, just a small one. I don't know why it had to be stainless steel, but that's what it was. I filled it with water, and then I went to find a friend. We both work at a resort with our services, and it was a slow day for both of us. So I asked her if I could practice on her. She was more than eager. She loves that kind of thing. I couldn't believe what was happening. I was reading a bowl of water. She was so excited, she went up to the owner at the office. "Guess what Bev did? Guess what Bev did?" And he very stoically and calmly said, "She doesn't need that. She doesn't need that. She doesn't need that." True, I didn't need that. But it was a novel idea, and I wanted to see if I could do it. I really haven't done it since. I don't need to do it. Personally, in hindsight after that day, I realized it wasn't me doing it, it was Spirit giving me the messages. I was just opened up. Again, not long ago, I put my scrying ability to the test. I happened to walk past my front door, and I saw a lone feather lying on my deck. So I brought it in. I didn't just see it. The feather stood out prominently, sort of when I see a mouse. I a big rat to me, and then my logical mind kicks in, and it's a little thing like this. This was what this feather looked like, a big feather. I believe the feather is from a chickadee, as I had seen them out on my butterfly bush earlier. Taking the time to sit quietly, I ran my fingers along the edges. I pass it around, but I just can't do that. It's not that big, it's very gentle. From past experience, I knew there was a message in this. It was from someone in spirit. In fact, that's how I realized, or knew, that when my nephew passed, that he made it, so to speak. Because there we were, my sister and her family and I, standing out in the parking lot of the funeral home in Collingwood, and I'm looking up in the sky, and my hand out like this, not a bird in the sky, not a breeze, and this thing just floated down and landed in my hand. My nephew says, "Aunt Bev, are you okay?" And I like, look at Mike's okay. I don't think he really believed me, but I knew. Yeah, they thought I lost it. But there it was, the feather. And here it is, the feather. I began wondering, is this such a case with this new feather? I questioned if it was from my neighbor, and if she had my dog Buster with her. Before I put him to sleep, I told him to go to Auntie Bev. Bev had passed on 3 months earlier. Just as that thought crossed my mind, there was an actual image of eyes, ears, and face of a Shih Tzu. Clearly a Shih Tzu, and it was on this side of the feather. And it was staring at me. It was my dog. There was no doubt about it. Bev and Buster were together. And she brought Buster in. Then I looked at the feather and wondered, what else would come of this? What other information is there in this feather? What would Spirit give me? It's delicate, not large, but it's strong, yet not a downy feather. So I sat quietly and gently caressed it, like that. And then the messages started coming. You just can't do something like that without being in front of a computer or having a notebook with you. I worried that going into my computer room would stop the flow, but it didn't. It said that there is a delicate balance in life, and even though we as humans see ourselves as strong in many ways, which we are, we do have to work at maintaining a balance. We need to look for that gentle aspect, not only within ourselves, but also in others. This is not always an easy task. The feather is not straight, it's gently curved. We have curves in our lives. It's like following a road that's got a very gentle curve on it. Seemingly, we know what's coming towards us when we're on this curve. Yet we trust that the curve will continue to be gentle and smooth. The idea of a feather bent more severely, in half, suggests that the curve has changed. Our path has changed. We can't see what's coming at us. Whatever this unexpected change is, something we see could be negative or shocking. This is like a sharp S-bend on the road. It changes our focus. It changes the way we follow our path. We don't see that sudden sharp turn coming, and we veer to stay in control and get back on the path. Is this illness, a personal situation, or stress? Whatever it is, we do know that we can find and return to that gentle curve. We just have to have faith and trust in the God of our understanding, that things work out or improve or become resolved. My touching the feather changed something. Changed something within it and on it. Because at one point, there was suddenly my imprint of my thumb on the feather, on the one side. I was upset. I figured I'd change the feather in some way, and it was going to stay there forever. It hasn't, thank goodness. But a part of me was on that feather. I felt I had marred it. Of course, there was a message in that. What was I thinking? Each being who walks this planet leaves an imprint. And this, in turn, reminded me of a book I read a long, long time ago. I don't remember the name of it. Weave World comes to mind. But it basically talks about the importance of our place in life. If we imagine a designed carpet, maybe like this one that we're sitting on here, and we study it closely, you will see that the threads, be they colored or plain, make the design. And they are closely woven in a good fashion. Each one is as important as the one beside it. There is perfection in those closely woven threads. I like to think that in the carpet of life, each one of us is the perfect thread. We make the design not only by standing side by side, and we are leaving imprints on earth and in the universe. We do this in the carpet of life. We stand side by side. Just as my thumbprint did on the feather. I left an impression. No one person is too great or too small to be left out. No one is too rich or too poor to be left out. The thing is, we need to realize our importance in the grand scheme of life. There is a purpose for all, no matter where we are positioned in this carpet. We only need to recognize how vital we are to the whole. So now I'll go back to the feather. This feather is not like the other outer feathers. It did not have notches, which indicates the bird had been in a battle or chased by other birds or a cat. It's what I can only assume a protected feather. Not one readily open to the atmosphere, not working alone to help the bird fly or repel rain individually, but working together with all the other feathers. It was more protected. Whatever part of the bird this feather came from shows that it had fit perfectly in place. It had a place in God's creation. And being there for me to find was yet another purpose. Finding this feather says there is a source. It was attached to a bird. Did it shed freely, or did this bird gently pull it out? The fact that it landed on my deck logically says the wind blew it there. But I know the bird was sitting on the railing. I just don't know how it got so far in from the railing. I believe it came from the source of all it is. I also believe it was delivered by my friend and neighbor. We come from a source. We are God's creation. We change our lives. We reinvent ourselves. We accept and adapt. And in doing so, we grow spiritually. The feather shows us that along our way in life, that we always have a spine. It's right up the middle. It says that no matter what, we stand on our own. We are individuals with backbone. We have strength and individuality and perseverance, but we can bend when we need to bend. As we progress, and this is like going up the feather, we tend to find ourselves adapting to situations. Some we don't like, and some we love. But either way, we adapt. It's easier to adapt when we follow that gentle curve. The color is soft gray. It is sometimes hard for us as humans to see things in the middle, right? It's either black or white, so to speak. And for lots of people, there's no in between. Toward what I call the top of the feather, up here, there's just a hint of white. These colors, the gray started changing to white near the top. It was very subtle. And it was rounded. I thought, what's this? What was given to me was that we follow a path in life. From the point where it was attached to the bird, we see things in black and white. That's our childhood, our youth, our adulthood. But gradually, as we mature, a nicer word for age, we grow and learn, and we accept the in-between color of gray. As we mature, we become more open to others' ideas and beliefs. We see both sides. It's accepting that we are not always right, and that's always a hard thing for me to accept, or that we are not always wrong. It's not a black and white area, it is a gray area, where we can say maybe both. Yes, we adapt, we accept, and we follow our life path. And despite sudden sharp turns in the road, we really do not veer far from that gentle curve. Our backbone, or spine, is our inner strength, and it gives us the ability to get back on that gentle curve. So the lightening of the edges is the light of God. I like to say that this is where we find that peace of mind, peace of heart, the trust of the God within us. He never leaves us in a gray area or a darkened area. With God, there is a brightness in life, and it is up to us to find it and hold it close. It is this white or brightness of the God force that we come to accept. Some are lucky to have it their whole lives. Maybe a feather that comes to them will be a whole white feather. Either way, I say it's never too early or too late, no matter where or when we find this light. I found it awesome that this feather had given me so much information. It wasn't like the down feather telling me that Mikey made it, or some poor bird lost a down feather. The feather was there on the deck. This feather was there on the deck for a reason. My buster was with Auntie Bev, and they are both well. For that, I am very thankful. I do have to say the feather was also a description of my neighbor as I knew her. Gentle, kind, thoughtful, and caring. She took things in her life in stride, even her illness. I trusted that she would have my dog with her, and she does. And so in closing, I would suggest that you not dismiss any feather of any bird when it is given to you. For it comes at a time when you need confirmation about a situation, peace of mind, or just an understanding of life. So sit quietly, study it, and let the message flow. Thank you so much.